Good evening. Wow, I am loud in my head. I am loud in my head. Good evening and welcome to the Paul Report. Mom, I am not really overly ready for this show. I didn't primp or prime or nothing. I'm just here floating in the breeze. Thank you all for joining me this evening. I appreciate you being here. Hopefully we'll have a nice crowd for this last show of 2021 before we head into 2022. Let's see here. As always, I am your host. There I am. That's me. Right there, babies. All right. Let's just see if we can get rid of that. All right, there we go. Perfect. All right, so let's see who's here. We're just going to pop into the chat for a second. We'll come back to the chat a little later. We have me. I'm there. Stan, welcome. Thank you for sharing the link to the show. Much appreciated. I see my lovely bride, Jennifer, and I see my brother Robert, and I see Stan again. All right, and we have Andre here. Woohoo! All righty. Appreciated. All right, so this show has some new content. I'm not going to rehash the old stuff, but we're just going to have a little bit of fun tonight. I wanted to drink, but my tummy's in a little bit of a so I just decided not to do any drinking tonight. But if you want to have a drink, I do encourage you to have a drink. And if you want to have one on air, I would certainly like to have you come on with me. Now, I have a couple different ways of joining me on air. I can send you a link so you can join me via the interview feature here, and it will bring you up on screen with your camera phone or camera on your computer. However you use a camera, it will do it that way. I can also give you a phone number to call if you don't want to be on screen. However, I would like you to be on screen because that's kind of cool to see you on screen. So I will post those into the chat a little later when the time comes. Oh, I'm already dry-mouthed. I don't know why that is. Probably because my tummy a little upset. That's tasty. All right, so let's kind of break into the show. And I am going to start with let's see. Oh, Chris, welcome to the show. It will not be Tom Selleck, but it could be someone else. Letting you know. But if you want to join me a little later on, I will put out a link. You can come on, talk to me for a little bit, and I'll ask you a couple questions about 2021. We'll get to that in a few. But the first thing we're going to do is we are going to just do one final go through of this year-end extravaganza. Well, it's more like a year-end CYO junior high dance or maybe an AZA house party in Peabody. So why don't we get into, say, let's do a final health update. What do you say? Let's do a little recap of the health update. All right, so here's the deal. This year has been just up and down on the health scale, and I'm not going to go really deep into it because anyone who's watched the show knows what I went through this year through the multiple health updates that I did. I'm just going to kind of give you a month-by-month recap of the health update this year, okay? So again, I was going to do it to a song like the Calendar Song by Neil Sedaka, but quite frankly, this voice ain't having it and your ears aren't having it. So let's see. January, I had surgery. I was gutted like a fish. They stole my gallbladder and they took whatever remaining cancers that were in me out. So that was January. In February, I had my stitches out and my incision reopened. And then I went through that hell for March. In March, I went back to work with an open incision. April, I got my eye boogies taken care of, and I got the first needle in my eye in April. In May, instead of going on a canoe trip with my sister-in-law and her husband and my beautiful wife, I ended up having cellulitis in my foot. In June, I had my second needle in my eye, plus the formation of a hernia where my incision was on either side of my torso, which now it looks like I have a second ass on my chest. So go figure. Nothing much happened in August. Awesome. September, I had the third needle in my eye, and still I have stuff there. October, I had an MRI. November, I had an endoscopy, which I later found out I have a clean bill of health, that I have no cancer in me. Okay, December, the end of November and December, I had some sleepless weeks. I wasn't sleeping very well. But other than that, nothing much so far, but this month ain't over yet, friends. I still got another day. So here's hoping that 2022 will only bring a few health updates throughout the year. If none, that's okay too. But we'll see what happens in 2022. So this has been a recap of the Paul Report Health Update. All right. Thank you very much for that recap of the health update. So, for the second year in a row, COVID has kind of dominated the news along with the January 6th Capitol riots, the insistence that the election was stolen. What else do we have to endure all year long? Lasting stories. People dying of COVID, people surviving COVID. That's a good thing. Different variants who went from the Alpha to the Delta, and now we're at the latest variant. And the latest variant has been leaving people sort of gobsmacked with how to pronounce the latest variant. So what I found is a video that I'm going to show you that's going to help you to say the name of the variant, which is pronounced, because I watched the video a bunch of times, it's pronounced Omicron. So allow me to show you this video of how to pronounce Omicron.
Omicron. Omicron. Omicron.
Omicron.
Omicron. Omicron.
Omicron.
Omicron.
Omicron.
Omicron.
Omicron.
Omicron. Omicron. Omicron. Omicron. Omicron. Omicron. Omicron. Omicron.
Omicron.
Omicron. Omicron.
Omicron.
Omicron. Omicron. Omicron.
Omicron. Omicron.
Omicron. Omicron. Omicron.
Omicron.
Omicron. Omicron.
Omicron. Omicron.
Omicron.
Yep. I'm trying to get back to... Oh, you know what was supposed to happen there? My bad. I was supposed to hit a different button for that. Here I am. I'm back. So that is how to pronounce Omicron. Either Omicron or Omicron. Omicron, 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 Omicron. So let's go back to the chat for a second. Bobby, you'd rather smoke than drink if you smoked. Bobby, I'll ask you, what would you like to smoke if you did smoke? Are you looking to smoke?
Omicron. Omicron.
Omicron.
Omicron. Omicron.
Omicron, 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 Omicron. What would you like to smoke, Bob, if you were to smoke? Now, I've been very vocal with my family that if I could, I would, on occasion, go with a little of the ganja. Just a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit of the legal ganja, whether it be an edible or something like that. It has been many years since I've had anything like that. But the last time I did it through a vaporizer, and that was probably I laughed my ass off for hours. Didn't get the munchies very much, but I laughed my tail off for about 2 hours while doing that. So it was kind of a cool experience. Now, I'm not expecting to have that experience all the time, but maybe just to chill out a little bit. It helps relax the psoriasis sometimes, help with my cataracts. I don't have cataracts, but anyway, I like Picard's pronunciation too, although I think Kirk with his Omicron. Yeah. All right, so what's next in this cavalcade of comedy? Well, not really comedy, but you know what I mean. Let's see. I guess it's probably high time. I'm going to go into the Gfy Award because I wasn't going to give one out this week. I was going to end the year with not doing it. But I found a story that kind of got me kind of like bummed out a little bit bummed out. And for reasons I'll explain after I explain the story. So there is a bureau in our government called the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And this is the group that dictates how lenders and creditors and all that can interact with the people that owe them money. That's one of their functions. A new rule was enacted by this agency, the CFPB, that opens the door for creditors to send DMs or direct messages to people that owe them money on social media and text messages. Okay, so now they can come into your Facebook and direct message you. Now, this could translate to millions of Americans who have loans. Now, I'm going to say this, that if you have a loan, you should pay it. I myself have been guilty of not paying back a loan, and it has been charged off, but then they caught up to me several years later, and now I'm paying it off. Weekly amounts. I'll probably be about 90 by the time it gets paid off, but I made my peace with it, and I'm paying them off weekly. I had another loan that was discharged. It was for my mortgage at a house in Tewksbury. We were foreclosed on because of that whole 2008-2009 banking crisis, and plus I lost my job. So we ended up vacating the house, and they just kind of gave up on the loan type of thing. They got the house back. So not so much a default. Well, it was a default, but I didn't owe them any money afterwards. So now they're saying that they can... Is my audio not coming in? Stan just said audio. I'm showing that I'm broadcasting. Can anyone else confirm that I am coming across to you all? And we can see if we can localize it to Stan's feed, or is it everybody's feed? Okay. So Stan, it might be you if you can't hear me. So critics say the messages could be lost online or lead to invasions of privacy and a proliferation, and this is important, of new scams. So imagine that someone texts you and says, oh, I'm from Bank of America and you defaulted on a loan. And you think, I have a Bank of America loan and maybe I am defaulted on it. But what if this is a scam? You really can't tell. So you can just ignore it, I guess. But you know, they're saying this, and advocates of this change say it's a simple update to rules created back in the 1970s. So this rule was actually approved last year under the Trump administration, and it requires creditors to contact defaulters privately, meaning they can send direct messages but not post on your public-facing page. Now, consumers can opt out of these messages. Creditors do not need permission to contact people, and there are no rules for how many messages they're allowed to send. So they could completely flood your direct message all day long if they want. Now, lenders have argued that the change was needed given that the Fair Debit Collection Practices Act, which regulates the industry, became law in the late 70s. I believe it was 1977, long before the creation of social media and cell phone text. The rule also creates a new limit for phone calls. 7 calls can be made each week for any particular debt, but people with multiple debts may see a dozen or so calls each week. Who knows? All right, so they can make up to 7 calls per loan or per debt per week. That seems to me a little bit like harassment. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever dealt with debt collectors, and if you have, please, post in the chat that you have. If you want to come online with me and discuss it, I'd be happy to come online and discuss it. But here is my here's my take. Well, actually, something else I wanted to mention. Debt collectors are also limited from contacting any consumer by phone within 1 week of speaking to them about a specific debt. So if they talk to you on a Monday, they can't contact you until the following Monday. But if they don't talk to you on Monday, they can call you on Tuesday, they can call you on Wednesday, they can keep calling you until they reach you, and then it's a week before they can call you again. Gentleman by the name of Mark Neeb, who's the CEO of the Debt Collector Trade Group, ACA, my throat, ACA International, said in a statement that the change represents a small step towards modernizing communication with consumers. Do we really need modernization on how to connect with us? Everyone has a cell phone. Granted, not a lot of people have home phones anymore, but people have cell phones and people have email. It's what's not to say you're not up to date with it. Critics say the options create new ways communications to go amiss, especially given that some people lack constant access to the internet. Messages about overdue bills, though private, could still be sent to the wrong person. So you got Paul Kravitz, who lives out in the western part of Massachusetts, and I get a text from his creditor saying, Paul Kravitz, you owe this. Now I'm going to get flooded with this because if I try to call them and say, that's not me, that never works. They still call. I've done that 1,000 times, and I still get calls for other people that have my number. So around 1/3 of Americans who have had a credit report have a debt that's been sent to a collections agency. This is according to NBC News. The new rule could affect tens of millions of people. And as a person who has been contacted by collections people in the past, I can tell you that many of them are rude, they'll threaten you, and they talk down to you. I mean, it is harsh sometimes. I have letters that I got from debt collectors that I didn't even pay attention to because I got them while I was in the hospital. And like the letters start off with, I can't believe that you can't pay this. You can't pay this debt. I can't believe you haven't contacted me yet. What is your problem? And this is like, dude, it's not your pocket I'm taking the money from. You get more with sugar than you do with vinegar. So if you've ever dealt with a debt collector, I'm sure you can probably relate to how some of them act. I used to work at a credit union, and I would be in the collections department. I would hear how some of them spoke to customers, and I'm like, dear God, can you talk to your mother with that mouth? God, it's horrible. So I also think that on top of people being responsible for the debts, lenders need to be better about who they lend money to. Plain and simple, I mean, lenders have their money and they lend it out. And then they charge interest and fees for the money that they lend out. Now, whether or not the people pay it back or not, they're still getting their interest added to the amount. Now, maybe they're not getting paid, but they have, they go to the collectors, and, people are paying off interest far before they're paying off principal. So fees, interest, all of these things are very lucrative for lenders. And I just don't understand how people lend out money to people who can't afford to pay them back. I think a little bit of higher scrutiny has to be put on the lenders to make sure that they're qualifying people who can pay it back. Now, I understand there are people who take out loans and look good on paper, but are just not. Okay, but, lenders got to take some skin in the game on this. So for that reason, I'm giving the new regulation from the, let's see, what was that name again? It was the CFPB. I'm giving this new regulation this award this week because it's just going to lead to a ton of crap. And I just don't think that, I just don't think it's well worth it. So since I also forgot to play the intro, what the hell's wrong with me? I don't know, but I'm just going to present the award and we'll move forward. All right, so here we are. Let me get back to where I need to be because this is where I need to be right here. There we go. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick promo break. And when I come back, we're going to talk about 2021 some more. And I will pass out the link to come online if you want to and be on screen in my interview. I can handle up to 4 people. So if a few people want to come in and talk with me at the same time, I would welcome you to join in. If you want to call on the phone, I can take one call at a time. So I prefer the other way. If you don't want to be on screen, then you can certainly just be a black screen with your voice. But please show yourself. We want to see your beautiful faces. All right, you are watching the Paul Report for December 30th, 19 for 2021. Before we head into 2022, stick around. We'll be right back.
Do you have a nominee for Go F Yourself? Email thepaulreport@gmail.com. The Paul Report will return in just a moment. God help us all.
Hello, my name is Andrew and you are watching the Paul Report. Having known Paul for some time, I only this to say, he is a real piece of work. See, I am a computer-generated AI, so I have to say anything he types in. Darmok and Jalad. At Tanagra. Darmok and Jalad on the ocean. With his arms wide open. Paul, you are such an asshole. The Paul Report will return in just a moment.
Hi, my name is Janice, and you're listening to The Paul Report. Good choice.
You're listening to The Paul Report, and that's on you.
Hi, I'm Sarah Kravitz. You are listening to The Paul Report. Good luck. Hope you have a good day.
Hi, this is Paul, and you're listening to the Paul Report. It's kind of sad when you have to do your own promos. I'm muted. All right. Well, I'm going to have a new promo for the new year. A lot of things I'm going to have in the new year, new stuff that I'm going to work on that I have been working on. One thing I am trying to work on right now is getting my Facebook feed up so I can paste in the information. There we go. All right. All right. So if anyone would like to come on the air and let's see, screen displays. There we go. If someone wants to come on and be part of the interview, and I know one person I've already spoke to that will. There is the link I just pasted into the chat for you to come in. And if it's ringing, just kind of sit there and I'll get to you in a moment. And if anyone wants to call in, just sort of like ping me and let me know in the chat that you want to call in, and I'll put forth that number. So one of the things that one of my guests coming on is going to talk about is talking about movies for 2021. Now, as you know, my resident movie expert, Andre Provencher, is a student of film. He graduated with a degree in film, and he has been accumulating materials, things to start doing some video production, which I am championing that because I need to get creative in 2022. I need to write something, and I need it to get filmed. What we're hoping to do, and maybe Andre, if you want to jump in and reach out, I can get you. Oh, wait a minute. Probably have to get my interview thing. Oh, there it is now. Okay, let's see. And Andre, you're in the green room. I will bring you on in just a moment. Let's see. Include in switcher. We'll take this off, and we'll bring Andre in. Andre. Oh my God. You're a little big.
There we go.
All righty. There we go. Let's see. All right, cool. Let me put myself back on here for a second. Unless you're in. All right, there we go. All right, so I'm going to bring Andre into a, let's see, let's add you to the right. There we go. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. What we found out with my last guest, Dr. Schlickman, is that if you must be on your phone, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think it happened on his phone, but it did happen on a computer. You have to kind of move the screen, touch the screen every so often, because you might freeze up. Things for I might freeze up. So just kind of move the screen around if I freeze up on you. Okay.
Cool.
Groovy. All right. So video production in 2022. This is a go. We're doing this, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, tell me your motivation to do this.
I just want to be more creative. It gets a little boring just watching TV, working from home, not doing anything except for like consuming media.
Yeah.
You know?
I hear you. And
there's a lot of content out there, but it's just like you kind of want to do your own stuff.
Yep. Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to writing stuff. I'm looking forward to editing. I'm looking forward to all this, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. I know that Chris is on board, maybe Andrew, but we'll get as many people as we can and practice safe filming, and keep the juices flowing, as you will. But
yeah.
Aside of that, and we'll talk about that as we go through the year and get stuff going and maybe do some production reports and air them on here. But my goal is to come up with something serialized, at least something small that we can serialize and play over a course of, several weeks. And we'll try that. And I know you're looking to start up your own podcast at some point, and I think that's fantastic. And I'll support you any way I can. I'll advertise for you, whatever, because you the man. But I did bring you on specifically to talk about this year's movies. And I've compiled a list of different movies that fall into different categories. But I like to start, if you have any of your best movies for 2021. What are some of your best movies?
Well, I actually just finished watching Pig about an hour ago.
Okay.
I loved it. It was so good. Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
And sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, it's to anyone who hasn't watched it, it's a Nicolas Cage movie, but now Nicolas Cage is starring in every movie that exists. But this one's really good. It's not like his normal. I don't want to say he's been in a lot of B movies lately, but he's just doing a lot of different projects. Not all of them have money behind them, real money, But
or dialogue.
Did I freeze?
Did you freeze? You're not frozen to me. Oh, I think maybe Andre might be frozen. You look frozen to me, sir. So let me take you off of that. Let me put me on, and hopefully we'll get Andre back. Let me disconnect him, and he'll be back in a moment. But he mentioned the word, the movie Pig. Oh, he's back now. Okay, and add to the right. Nope, he's gone again. We'll get him back in a second. But he mentioned the movie Pig, and no word of a lie, that is number 3 on my list of my favorite movies this year. It's a story about a guy who is a truffle hunter, and he has a pig that for somehow, some way, can sniff out truffles. And the pig gets kidnapped, and it is the story of him trying to find the people who stole his pig. It sounds ridiculous, but trust me, it's a really good movie. Nick Cage made this movie, and it really is good. Let me see, is my chat here? All right, Andre's coming back. Let's see. Andre, welcome back.
All right,
Andre's coming back. Oh.
All right. I don't know what happened, but
I get to say it. Please turn down your radio. No.
Yeah, I just turned it off. I turned off my other one.
I was just saying how Pig was on my list of one of my top movies this year. It was number 3 on my list.
Yeah.
And I was explaining the plot of it, and that it sounds kind of dumb, but it really is truly a really good movie. It really is well done, and
it's not like a typical. It's not a typical, Nicolas Cage movie. It's, basically when I first saw the trailer, I'm like, oh, so he must go and hunt down all of his enemies who killed the pig or took the pig or whatever. But it's not like that at all, obviously.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it really was quite surprising, because that's what I was expecting too. Is Nick Cage goes wild on everyone who cooked his bacon, So, another one, I'll go with one of my favorite movies was Last Night in Soho.
So Edgar Wright. Yeah,
Edgar
I've heard
Wright.
it's good. I haven't seen it yet.
Yep, it actually is a very decent movie, very stylish. The special effects in it are really good. I'm actually quite surprised on how they did it so well, and it was really cool. I really enjoyed it, and I can't say too much about it just because it might give something away, but it really was a decent movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another one of your favorites, sir.
Well, you mentioned Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho, but the one I picked from him that I actually have watched is called. It's a documentary called The Sparks Brothers.
Oh yes,
and
yes,
it's really good, very entertaining, very educational.
Yep, I saw that advertised, and I thought that's pretty cool. I didn't even know they were still around. And
yeah, that's the best thing about the movie is like every once in a while, like I don't know, especially if you get older like us guys. It's like sometimes when it comes to like music and stuff, you're like, I've heard everything, I know everything, and then you see stuff about like all this crap you didn't know about, and you're like, wow, like this is awesome.
Yeah, no,
so that's kind of what it's like. And,
that
but
is
very very humorous.
Yeah, very very much on my watch list. Another one of my favorite movies, Dune.
Oh yeah, I had that on my list too.
Yep, Dune was very good, very beautifully shot. I thought it was beautifully shot, and I did read a lot of negative comments about the movie because it was so slow and boring and blah, blah, blah. But I was surprised personally that, it wasn't all in one movie. I saw it was like running for 2.5 hours or 2 hours and 45 minutes. I'm like, oh, they'll get the whole movie. Then I'm watching it, and I look at the clock, and I'm like, they're like 2 hours into this, and they haven't even done this part yet. I'm like,
yeah.
And I'm used to the 1984 version from David Lynch. And I'm like, okay. Because I heard nothing about, a part 2 until after.
I noticed at the beginning of the movie, though, it said Dune Volume 1. And I was like, what? And then, like you, I was like 2 hours in and like, oh, this is moving along, but like they haven't even got to this scene yet. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There's only like 20 minutes left.
Yep. One of the other movies on my list is Coda. I don't know if you saw that.
I
It
haven't
was
seen
on
that. That's an Apple Plus.
Apple
movie,
Plus. Yeah, it's Coda means child of deaf adults, and really good movie. I sat and watched that with my wife a few weeks ago, and I really enjoyed that movie. It just really, very heartfelt movie. Very funny at times. Marley Matlin in tight clothing. I don't know what's so wrong about that. I don't know. But no, I mean,
There's
it was
nothing
really
wrong with that.
it was, and she really was an interesting character, because she was kind of not trashy, but she was just, I don't know, she was just kind of more fun than you imagine her to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that. So I only had 4 movies that I put in my favorites of the year. Do you have any other favorites that you had?
Yeah, I had. Well, it's funny because like I could have sworn it was from last year, but it was I was just kind of looking over like a lot of people's picks and stuff to see if I missed anything. But Judas and the Black Messiah, like I remember watching it last January is when it came out, so it's technically a 2021 movie, even though it feels like it was last year.
Yeah, no.
Judas and the Black Messiah was a awesome movie. It was a very powerful movie.
Yeah, I saw that as well, and it would have made my list if I had gone further. It was there.
My
I just
camera
didn't.
has died.
Uh-oh.
Or the feed has died again.
Uh-oh.
You can hear me.
I can hear you, but you can't hear me. All right. He's gone again, but he will be back. Yeah, Judah and the Black Messiah was on HBO Max at the beginning of the year. It was one of those Warner Brother movies that that they showed on HBO Max, and it really was a great movie. It was powerful. It was definitely something that made you think. And I remember I'm trying to remember if I watched that before or after I got home from the hospital. I want to say it was before I went to the hospital. It was in January, and I want to say it was before. But I remember seeing and watching it, and yeah, it was definitely a really good movie.
The last one I had on my list was The Green Knight, which I think you said you didn't like.
I have to rewatch it. I have to rewatch. I thought, again, visually stunning, beautifully shot. I think it was filmed in Ireland, wasn't it?
I don't even know where it's filmed. Probably.
Yeah, I think it was filmed in Ireland, and it was just beautifully shot, and it looked gorgeous. But the story somehow just kind of lost me. It wasn't as good as I thought it would be, because I was looking forward to it. I actually made it a point to get that and watch it, but no dice. All right, I have a couple guilty pleasures. One is a Nick Cage movie called Willy's Wonderland. It was a guilty pleasure because Nicolas Cage only grunts in this movie. He doesn't speak any dialogue for the whole movie. He merely grunts. And it's one of those revenge things. It's one of those revenge movies. Another one of my guilty pleasures.
Thing's dying again.
Uh-oh. Another one of my guilty pleasures is The Matrix Resurrection. Now, I know that a lot of people weren't too fancy on The Matrix Revolutions. Oh, I lost. There we go. Let's try that this time. Okay, assign to the right. Here we go.
This came back.
Okay. Matrix Resurrection was one of my guilty pleasures for the year. Not a fantastic movie like the first one, not as bad as the third one, but that was on my guilty pleasure list. There's one more movie on my guilty pleasure list, but I need Andre here to hear me say it. Okay, let's see. I have one more movie on my guilty pleasures list, but I need you here to have me say it. Oh, you're frozen again. God. I don't know what the dealio is. I don't know if it's me or him. I can't really test I suppose I can. Okay, sorry folks, I gotta do this real quick. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I'm getting plenty of download speed, so I don't know what is happening. I got plenty of speed going on here. All right, I'll come back to my guilty pleasures. 2 movies that I hated this year. 2 movies that I hated that, quite frankly, I just hated. One was a movie called Those Who Wished Me Dead. Okay? Horrible, 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 horrible movie. Hated it. It was dumb. It was boring. There was nothing about it that I felt any kind of action to, or any kind of drama or thrill or anything like that. I did not like that movie. Okay? Andre, since you're here, I'm going to tell you one of my guilty pleasures for this year was Benny Loves You. That was on my guilty pleasures list, and I wanted you to hear it. I didn't want you to be in limbo. But that movie is a definite guilty pleasure. I think I saw it on either HBO Max now or Prime or Hulu, one of them, Paramount. That movie is just so dumb, but so funny at the same time. It's like you'll hate yourself for laughing at this movie. And all I can say is, imagine Elmo with a murderous streak. That's all. That's all I have to say. But just, if you have a chance, watch Benny Loves You. Search for it. You'll love it. I promise you. You'll hate yourself, but you'll love it. The second movie that I have on my hated it list is also another HBO Max Warner Brothers thing. It's called The Little Things. And that was with Rami Malek and Jared Leto and Denzel Washington. That movie was another bore fest. Again, there was no drama to it. There was no anything there that made me feel anything for any of the characters. And I remember watching that after I came home from the hospital. But I'm not saying that it's because I was out of it or whatever. I was well into my faculties watching this movie, and I hated it. Just hated it. Malignant. Remind me again, I think I watched that movie, Malignant. Oh, that was the one with the woman's arm or something, or that she was, yeah, I think I know I watched that movie. Yeah, that was awful. That was horrible. Stan, I don't want to discount you. You said that Ghostbusters was good. I still haven't seen it, but I know that people have talked about it, saying it's really good. I know that Spider-Man has been getting rave reviews. That's another good one for the year. There were a ton of good movies this year, but I had to go with the ones that I actually saw, because otherwise I'm talking out my arse. Let's see. I do remember Malignant now. I do remember watching that, and it was just horrible. Horrible. I did dive into TV a little bit, and I got 3 shows that I really enjoyed this year. One was What We Do in the Shadows, which is on FX, I believe. And they also show it on Hulu. Another show I watched was on HBO called Hacks with Gene Smart and some other girl. I forget her name. And the third show, which isn't quite done yet, but will be done soon, is Dexter: New Blood. I think they redeemed themselves for the horrible ending that they gave Dexter 10 years ago. So that's the best of TV. For guilty pleasure for TV, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. If you have a chance, it's on Peacock, I believe now. Watch this show. It's warm, it's funny, it's silly, it's got a lot of singing and dancing in it, but that was really good. Mayor from Easttown, something I did watch, and yes, excellent series. If you get a chance to watch it, it's on HBO. Anyone else want to chime in with some of their best TV from this year? Please, I welcome you. There's also the link for the interview, so you can come on in. Free will. I can take up to 4 people at a time. So if you want to try your luck, please do. We have about 10 more minutes left. Best discovery of older material. There was a show that my buddy at work, Chris, turned me on to. It's called Danger 5. And it's the silly, super silly story of these 5 secret agents that are always trying to kill Hitler. And it takes place in, modern times, I think it's like the 1980s or something. And their leader is a guy with a bird head on his, like an eagle head. And one of the funniest things, I was going to grab the clip, but one of the funniest things is when this guy with the eagle head shows up, and every time he shows up, they hand him a drink. And he goes, "Oh, thank you very much." And he goes, and it's just sight gag funny. So it's on IMDb TV, which is free. You can find it on Prime, or you can go on IMDb and watch it there. But it is free through IMDb, and there's little commercials you have to deal with. But it's stupid funny, but it is very funny. And another show that I went back to this year was Twin Peaks, the original from 1989, 1990, or 91, and Twin Peaks: The Return, which was out in 2017. I kind of watched it sort of backwards. I did The Return first, then I went back to the original series, and I gotta tell you, they did such a good job of putting all that together and keeping things accurate from the old series to the new one. Excellent job doing that. So if you have Showtime, you can watch Twin Peaks: The Return. Twin Peaks: The Original Series is on Paramount Plus, and Twin Peaks: Fire Walk with Me is on HBO Max. Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, another show that I came across. Again, I think Chris is like our dealer for old shows that we need to watch. But Garth Marenghi's Dark Place is on, I want to say it's Prime, but it's about a mystery writer who created this TV show called Dark Place, or Dark Places, and it's set in a hospital. And a gentleman by the name of Matt Berry, who is in Toast of London, and also in the IT Crowd, and also in What We Do in the Shadows, is also in the show. And it's, again, very funny, very dumb, but entertaining, to say the least. All right. So at this point, we have about 9 minutes left. I am willing to talk about anything you guys want to talk about. Again, I was hoping to have more people call in and talk about their year, and talk about, maybe some milestones that they had, maybe some good news, maybe thoughts for the next year. I don't personally believe in resolutions because I'm tired of disappointing myself. I try to be real with myself, but my doctor says that I need to lose about 25 to 30 pounds if I want to get my hernias repaired. So that's sort of a goal for the year. I'm not going to say I'm going to eat better. I'm not going to exercise more. I'm not going to do any of those things. At least I'm not going to say it. But hopefully, I'll start doing it. And let's see. What else do I have to go on for next year? Andre, being more creative, making some movies, serialized stuff, experimenting, experimental theater, if you will. Gonna look forward to that. Looking forward to spending time, hopefully, if 2022. Now, you may be wondering why I'm doing 2022. Let me do this. It is 2020. Whoops. Sorry. Let's do this. 2020. Woohoo. 2020. Okay. So here it is that it's 2022. So instead of saying it's like 2020 part 2, like The Godfather 2, The Godfather. So I'm hoping that 2022 is not 2020 part 2. I am kind of hoping that things can get a little better. Hoping that people can stay healthy. A friend of mine that I've known for a number of years, I haven't physically seen him in a long time, but still have kept in contact here and there. A buddy of his, really good friend of his, just died of COVID, and I am heartbroken that that we have a solution in place, and because of negative messaging, people are still getting sick and sick and sick. And I'm not saying the vaccine is 100%, to stave off COVID, but it definitely lessens your symptoms. Definitely lessens the need or lessens the need for hospitalization. I just watched Love Actually, and I've been doing a lot of Bill Nye, Nighty, whatever, however you say his name, Billy Mack gestures. I just want to say that I love you. All right. So I'm hoping 2022 isn't 2022. I wish everyone here who has shown up all year long the very best. If I don't call your name, it's probably because I haven't seen you enough, but know that I thank you even if you only come in once. Our regular cast of characters, Andre, obviously my wife Jen, Stan, Michelle. I know that there are people, Wendy, Bobby, my brother, my sister Janice, other people who I'm just trying to think of names off the top of my head who have popped in. Robin, I know Sharon came in a couple times. There's so many people. Bob McKinnon, who was actually a guest on my show this past year after being hospitalized with COVID. So many people that have been supporting me throughout the year, and I can't thank you enough. And hopefully support will continue into the new year as we try different things, try new things, maybe try to get more guests involved and more topics for the Educate Me. I still am trying to do my move over to YouTube permanently and getting off of Facebook, but we'll see how that goes. Again, if anybody wants to hop in and be on the show for the last couple of minutes, by all means, please do. I'll keep the interview thing on for that matter. So I did a tally, and I did approximately 32 shows this year. This one would actually be my 33rd show of the year, which means that I did a show for more than half the year. So it averages out to like once every other week minus a few days. I forget what it comes out to. And again, the show is evolving. It's always going to evolve. I'm always going to try new things, try to pull more people in. I need to do more show prep. I would love to get a co-host to come in sometimes and just kind of work with me. I find that co-host can take some of the pressure off of me from talking for an hour and give me an opportunity to sort of collaborate. So if you know of anyone that might want to be a guest host, or you yourself might want to be a guest host, by all means, you can email me at Paul at the, no, is it Paul? The Paul Report at gmail.com. Jeez, I forgot what the hell my own email address is. The Paul Report at gmail.com. So let me know. I don't know if Chris Fallon is still watching, but if you are, Chris, I would love to get you on for next year. I feel like I treated you like Matt Damon and Jimmy Kimmel, that I kept bumping you. I feel bad about that. But I'd love to get you on next year. Anyone else who might want to be a guest who can teach me something, by all means. I'm always looking for guests, always looking for a co-host, always looking for someone who wants to submit something. If you write something and I use it, I'll throw you a few bucks. But really, I enjoy doing the show every week, as much as I can. It was terrible while I was out after surgery, and I couldn't do the show. I couldn't even barely make it down the stairs to the office. I was bummed out that I couldn't do the show, but coming back and, I know I took almost a month off in November, but, this show means everything to me, and I appreciate you all coming week after week. So I am going to sign off with something that I'm just thinking of right now. Look at the reflection in my glasses. Happy New Year. If you go out tomorrow night for any reason, please be safe. Don't drink and drive. If you do drink and drive, don't drink and drive. Don't be belligerent drunk. Be happy drunk, and then take a cab home or a Lyft or a Uber or whatever. But get home safely if you go out. I would prefer you stay in personally, just because of Omicron and stuff like that. But you do as you will. You do as you will. Just stay safe, because I want you to come back next week for this show and tell me all about it. Tell me about your New Year's Eve extravaganza. I myself will be home with the kids. We're having dinner and fondue. What's better than that? We're going to have stuff to dip in the fondue. We're going to have stuff to eat with fondue. We're going to have fondue to eat, just like Augustus Goop. So that's if my wife lets me do that. Just stick my hands in there. Anyway, everyone, be well, be safe. Love you all, and have a good New Year. We'll see you next week right here on the Paul Report. Good night. I know, I'm just trying to find my thing. Trying to find my... I don't have it. All right, I'll just do it this way. Bye, folks. See you later.
The time has come for us to ride on to our next adventure.
We're gonna have a three-way with the Declaration of Independence.